$20 billion worth of buying power from real estate is about to flood into Bitcoin right before your eyes. Let's not forget that when money flows from traditional finance into Bitcoin, usually the liquidity goes to high cryptocurrency market cap coins, and it starts flowing into the coins that do 100x with the low liquidity pools. And we've been researching coins, putting together lists. We have a coin list, and I'm telling you, it's about to be crazy for every asset class in crypto. Now, you guys know I've been precautious about cryptocurrency because of the high interest rates that we're currently experiencing, the war scare, as well as the tariff policies and all this uncertainty. But when I read this morning, my posture is shifting. Listen to what I'm saying right now. You can now take Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and use it as collateral to buy a home. This is insane. Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac are worth like $16 billion, and they officially released kind of like this statement here saying that, hey, prepare for people to use Bitcoin and Ethereum as collateral for loans, guys. So again, just to really explain it to you, because it's probably hard to comprehend, and we're going to go over predictions of what this could do for the market, but just to explain it, you can now take your Bitcoin and Ethereum, go to them and be like, hey, I have Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they take that in consideration for you to get a loan. So they might give you a higher loan based off of your cryptocurrency holdings. That means there's going to be a lot more people that are going to hold crypto because it actually is more meaningful for their life now, right? And the big thing to understand is that this is a house. So housing is obviously one of the strongest asset classes on the face of the planet because it's a real place that you can own, you can live in, it generates cash flow. It's the biggest. We know this, has the most credibility. We all understand this, right? So now if you hold crypto, it's meaningful for your housing situation. And this is where it gets really, really, really weird because we can make some projections on that. How much of real estate loan value can be captured in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies? And it's alarming. I just made some predictions. It's very alarming. And it's actually for myself, when I think about myself, like, I didn't buy a house for a reason. I'm renting on purpose. Can I afford a house? Of course. But it's a stupid investment when I could just buy crypto. So now I can buy crypto and buy a house and be happy. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, when I first read this, I was like, bro, there's just no way. It kind of blew my mind. Like, this is insane. So if we break down the actual numbers, there's over $13 trillion in outstanding residential mortgage debt in the United States. Now, Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac, they have combined about 60 to 70% of all single family mortgages. So we're talking about $8 trillion to $9 trillion worth of money of potential energy that can fly into cryptocurrency. Now, obviously not all of it, but a fraction of it. So let's say hypothetically, if we look at reserve requirements, usually it's about 5 to 15% of the total loan supply. So for example, if you have, I don't know, $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, they'll typically take in consideration 5 to 15% of that for the actual loan. So we're talking about like a $15K loan or something like that. But that's still, even with these numbers, that's still a crazy amount that could be potentially flooding into crypto. Let me break down the numbers because this is going to essentially get people to hold the crypto longer. Now they're really going to be incentivized not to sell. If people start taking loans against their Bitcoin, again, like I said, they're really going to be incentivized to hold Bitcoin, and it will decrease and take away a lot of the volatility Bitcoin has. Usually it drops like 50, 60% every cycle. I don't know if we'll see that this time. We might have an extended cycle like I've been talking about for a long time. So borrowers might actually even move their current cash into crypto because of this, and lenders might actually recommend holding crypto in the United States to boost profiles. So there's like obviously the main effect, which is the loans. There's all these other consequences from that main effect that come into play as well. So just think about this for a second. Borrowers may intentionally now hold crypto as an asset to boost loan approval odds. Some may move more money into cryptocurrency before applying for the loan, and lenders, just really think about this, might start advising clients to hold cryptocurrency in the United States. So even a small shift means a lot of money flowing into Bitcoin and into cryptocurrency as a whole. So what I did is I made a couple hypothetical scenarios based off of the inflows of money into Bitcoin. So let's say hypothetically we take the conservative perspective, that's 0.25% of the $8 trillion in backed mortgages. That's $5 to $10 billion. Now, if we look at moderate, that's 1%, bro. 1% is $20 to $40 billion of estimated inflow. And if we're really aggressive, which is 3%, we have $75 to $100 billion flying into cryptocurrency. Now, if we look at the ETF flows, right? So the Bitcoin spot ETF came out, kind of launched us into a big Bitcoin bull cycle, and also it set altcoins flying as well on Solana, base chain. We've already had a couple 100Xs this cycle, I think more than like 10. We haven't experienced a full altcoin season, but obviously one of the biggest catalysts in recent history in the past 2 years has been the Bitcoin spot ETF. If we look at the inflows, meaning the amount of money that's flying into Bitcoin because of this new mechanism, right? This is the inflows in comparison to Bitcoin's price. You can clearly see that when we have big spikes of inflows, the price of Bitcoin increases. Why? Because it's simple supply and demand. If there's people buying Bitcoin, it's taking Bitcoin off the market and the price is increasing because Bitcoin has scarcity built into it. Bitcoin is the most scarce asset on the face of the planet. There's nothing else in the world that has something called a fixed supply. Listen to what I'm saying. There's only 21 million Bitcoin in existence that will ever be in existence. Even gold has a increasing supply because we find new gold all the time. Bitcoin is 21 million. So if they keep pulling Bitcoin off the market, this is very specific towards price increase for Bitcoin. Because of the scarcity element, the price of Bitcoin always flies. And right here, again, look at this spike right here. Look at this spike right here of inflows and look at this spike right here. Every single time we have Bitcoin moving up. So what I did is with these hypothetical conservative estimates of the real estate market, how does that look for inflows of Bitcoin's price in the future? So again, we took these conservative estimates, in my opinion. One's conservative, one's moderate, one's aggressive. We have 5 to 10 billion, 20 to 40 billion, and then we have 75 to 100 billion plus. And we're looking at, this is only from the perspective of this new improvement for cryptocurrency. There's just one improvement, just this one thing. It's not taking into consideration all the other perspectives that have already been driving Bitcoin's price up. Just from this one perspective, the conservative is bringing Bitcoin to about 114,000. The medium is taking it to about 133. And if we do get that 3%, it's taking us at about $200,000 Bitcoin. So it really looks like this new demand, okay, is going to be obviously profitable for cryptocurrency as a whole. Not only in the short term, but in the long term, because I only looked at it in the perspective of the time period of the Bitcoin spot ETF. So to make this chart, all I did is I looked at, okay, from when the spot ETF launched to right now. So we're talking about, I think, less than a year, less than a year of time. So less than a year of time, this is very profitable. Now, I'm assuming over the long term, it will likely be more than 3%. It will be way more than 3%. And I'm going to prove that in this video, because when I show you the significance and the numbers behind what just happened, it's kind of a no-brainer now. Now it's a no-brainer. If it was me, and I've been holding back from buying a house for a long time on purpose because I don't want the maintenance costs, I don't want to own it. It's not profitable. I'd much rather hold cryptocurrency. That's the main reason why I have not bought a house, because I'd rather hold cryptocurrency, right? So now it's kind of making sense. Now I could hold cryptocurrency and I could take a lot, like, bro, what? I could literally take, like, they take that in consideration for a loan now. So now I get the best of both worlds. Let's break down the numbers. Also, by the way, if you want this report 100% free, head on over to coinpix.edu/reports. You can download this report for free. Obviously, the numbers are not going to be perfect. Nobody can project into the future perfectly, but you can make the model work for you and you can use it to learn about what could potentially happen in crypto and the housing market buying power. But yeah, if we compare the Bitcoin spot ETF inflows to, what's going to potentially happen with this new housing initiative, look at this right here. Just look at this. So the ETF actually, from when it started till now, it's about $48 billion, right? $48 billion worth of inflow. So the conservative is saying 5 billion, the moderate is saying 20 billion, and the aggressive is 75 billion. These estimates are actually really conservative, considering the real data of the Bitcoin spot ETF. Now, there's different dynamics, of course, and I do believe that when it comes to these inflows, it might take a lot longer. There might be a lagging effect for people to actually figure out that they can now do this. Like it's gonna take a little bit. It's not gonna be instant. Like I don't believe the money is gonna fly into crypto like right now. I'm just projecting into the future. I just really excited about this because it applies to my personal life. And I'm like, I want to do the numbers for myself, right? I literally want to do the numbers for myself, but you get the point. I'm really taking a conservative approach, and it is a lot of new buying power for cryptocurrency, a lot of new buying power. You can clearly see the comparison right here. And please keep in mind that this is only taking consideration Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac. Remember, there's private lenders, there's banks and other US agencies where inflows can actually multiply. Not only that, but when we see something happen in the United States when it comes to regulation or whatever the case is, we see other countries adopt the same exact standard to keep up in competition because the United States has the world reserve currency. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. And when I mean that these calculations are very conservative, they're very conservatives. And I think I made the point very clear that this is like the tip of the iceberg, guys, when it comes to the amount of inflows that can come in. So what I want to do now is I want to explain why this is so significant. Why would anybody want to hold crypto and then use it as collateral for a loan? Why won't you just buy a house? A house is solid. You don't have to worry about the volatility of crypto. We're going to overcome that. And I'm going to show you the numbers and how doing this method is significantly better than any long-term safety strategy for anyone. So like if you're looking for safety and profits, which a lot of people are, they don't want to get into, 100x altcoins. That's fine. If you're looking for wealth preservation, I do believe at this point, Bitcoin is trickling into the category of wealth preservation. Listen, it is getting all of this institutional demand. And if you hold Bitcoin for a long period of time, you make more money than anything else, right? It's resilient. Listen to what I'm saying. It cannot be hacked. There's a lot of elements. Now, it has been slightly hacked in the past, and I would never put all of my money into one asset, but just take into consideration what I'm saying. It's moving into a legitimate asset class, guys. Listen to what I'm saying. So if you don't know too much about finance, you're not into investing, the kind of default mindset for our average person is let's buy a house, right? Instead of paying rent, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take those payments, I'm gonna pay down the house, the equity, right? We all kind of understand this. And so I wanna run through the hypothetical to show you how bad that is as an investment. Even though it's kind of the default, even though it kind of makes sense, if somebody's not gonna invest, I'd rather them do that. But opposed to what we're gonna talk about with the crypto and the house combined, this is where it gets really crazy. But I wanna show you typically how this plays out. So let's say you find a house for $500,000. 10% down payment, meaning you have to put the money up, is $50,000. Now, obviously, there's some loans that you can get where there's no down payment, right? But I believe the math still plays out in favor of Bitcoin. Let me show you. So there's a 30-year home loan, 7% interest rate, which I believe is on the low end. Right now, I think it's probably higher. And you're basically spending $35,926 per year for the next 10 years. And we're only projecting 10 years out. So this is not like further than that, it gets exponentially better for cryptocurrency. But let me just show you kind of the math. So in the early years, the majority of your money goes to interest. People don't know how interest works when it comes to payments. When you're making a payment to your house, you're not paying 100% of that money to equity. It goes to interest. So approximately in year one, 71% of all of your mortgage payments is going to interest and not to the equity of your home. So after 10 years, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of interest payments. Now, when you pay to interest, that means that money's gone, poof. So when people pay to rent, they're like, oh, the money's gone. You're just paying it to somebody else. But it's kind of the same thing with interest. The majority of your payment is gone. Now you pay a minority to equity, and obviously that's the benefit to real estate. But let's dive into some more detail. Now, if we look at the historical price appreciation of homes, it's about 6% a year. So that $500,000 loan value, right? Because you take out a loan, you put 50 grand in, the $500,000, 6% a year for 10 years will bring the home value at about $900,000. So you gained $395,423 on paper. And let's kind of break down the math again. So home value, $895,000. The mortgage remaining, $349,000. Equity, what you own, is $546,000. So you still have debt. It's not all your money because you owe money on the house. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and say that's a bad investment. It's pretty good in comparison to other things. It's not bad, and you get to live in it too. And yeah, obviously you don't have to pay to rent. Now, if we look at the total cash you spent over the 10 years, $50,000 down payment, you paid $359,000. And if you take in consideration 1.5% of the mortgage and repairs, because obviously things come up, right? When it comes to like fixing your AC, you get the point. There are expenses to maintenance of the house. You actually forked over, when it comes to actual cash in your pocket, $484,000. Also, by the way, let me stop for a second. If you guys don't understand this, I really believe you should scroll back, get the report, and really try to comprehend it. Because again, not only is this like a crypto thing that you're learning, but this is also like something that can set you up for your life, your family, and your longevity, right? Your retirement, things like this. Listen to what I'm saying, right? So net result is you spent $484K, you own $546K in equity. So that means that your net financial gain on your investment, you actually made about $62,000 in 10 years. So you put up, listen to what I'm saying, you spent $484,000 to make $62,000 in actual profit on your investment. Listen, that's not bad, but let's assume, this is where we add kind of the last element. If we adjust it for inflation, the numbers change slightly. So right here, right now, the adjusted for inflation, because we know inflation is about what? As you can see right here, it's calculating 2.5% on average. So that means that in 10 years, your dollar is not worth $1. It's actually worth 78 cents because of inflation. This is not taking consideration if the government decides to drop interest rates and print more money. I'm not going to go into that. But now your dollar, right, is worth less, and the actual value of your profit is $49,000, not $62,000. So you're really making like of purchasing power. You're spending like $424,000 for like a $49,000 profit if you buy a home. Again, not bad, because you get to live in your house, right? It's safe. You don't have to worry about the investment. You know you're guaranteed to make money. It's not bad. Now, let's break down the hypothetical of Bitcoin, kind of like the same. Let's say you forget the house, you rent. Let's break down the hypothetical for Bitcoin. So if you take the same amount of money and you put it into Bitcoin over the next 10 years, and what I did is Bitcoin obviously returns way more. The housing market's 6%, but if you average the last 10 years of Bitcoin, it's been returning about 79% per year. So Bitcoin's returning 79% per year. And what I did is I decayed it. So like 79% from like this year, and then it drops, and then it drops, and then it drops, and it continues to drop over the next 10 years, tapering down to 30%. So it takes in consideration that, hey, Bitcoin's not going to return as much in the next 10 years. It takes all of that into consideration, right? So your initial investment is $50,000. You're spending about $2,994 on, Bitcoin, investing it into Bitcoin. So your initial investment plus all of the payments to Bitcoin is $484,000, which is the same total of buying a house, right? So the final amount after you make all of that money is actually $3.3 million. So you put in $484,000 and you made $3.3 million in cash that's yours with no debt. That's the Bitcoin investment. And this is the main reason why I have not bought a house, because I make so much more money off of crypto, and it's kind of stupid. It's like, I know too much about crypto. I've been in this market for a long time. Why would I invest in anything else, right? Listen to what I'm saying. So we have $3.3 million opposed to the $49,000. Now, obviously, we have to adjust it for inflation. So really, it's $2.22 million. So we have $49,000 that you'll make with a house, but you make $2.22 million adjusted for inflation with Bitcoin. That's ridiculous. Like, you see why I have not bought a house. Now, let me break it down even more. So here's a 10-year comparison for the next 10 years of buying a house versus buying a Bitcoin purely for the focus of investment. Now, I didn't take in consideration how much money you'll spend, for example, on rent. If you just solely buy Bitcoin, obviously you have to live somewhere. But the whole purpose of this is people think that buying a house is a good investment. That's the whole purpose. So we're just comparing investments only from an investment perspective. So as you can see right here, total invested adjusted for inflation is $397,000 if you buy a house. Now, if you buy Bitcoin, it's $379,000, same thing. Now, the final asset value in home equity only, not the debt, meaning how much money you actually own, is $428,000. But in Bitcoin, you'll have 2.6 million, right? So the net profit on the house is 49,000 and the net profit on Bitcoin is 2.2 million. Net profit is basically the actual profit after all expenses, after all the debt is paid, after everything is paid, and you take out even the initial investment, how much money did you actually make? So that's a massive difference. So if you look at it from a year perspective, in one perspective, you're only making $4,900 a year on a house, net profit. And in Bitcoin, you're making $222,000 per year. That's a massive difference. Not only that, but when you buy a house, the liquidity is tied up in the house. You could take loans against your house, of course. But in Bitcoin, you have high liquidity. You could sell it at any time. You can pull it out anytime. You don't have to get involved with no bank. You can just click sell. It's yours, right? So obviously that perspective is way better. And then obviously there's no maintenance cost with Bitcoin. You can just hold the Bitcoin. Flexibility, it's locked in on a house. You have full control over Bitcoin. And the risk profile is going to be less with house, right? Obviously with a house, you're going to have less risk. There is volatility in Bitcoin, but this is kind of the comparison. So if we look at both investments, there's 45 times more net profit in Bitcoin, even with Bitcoin decaying returns, because we took that in consideration. We took in consideration that, hey, even though the last 10 years, Bitcoin returned 79% year over year, maybe that 79% drops. And we took that in consideration. So when we talk about retirement, let me just tell it right here. If there's anything you take away from me ever, like, bro, if you adopt crypto first, you win. Like, you have to change, bro. Like, everybody got to change. It's going to happen. People are going to realize this and start adopting cryptocurrency. It's going to happen, bro. Like, there's no way around it anymore. Like, it is better. It is proven to be better on so many different levels. It is more innovative. And with innovation and competition, as companies start adopting it, other companies have to follow because they're going to lose to competition. And it's going to be this kind of trickling effect where everybody has to kind of get with it. Or like, it's the same thing with the president of the United States. The president of the United States probably won because he adopted crypto faster than everybody else. And he used that as a way to rally the people and get votes, took the whole cryptocurrency community by storm. And like, just think about that, right? Like, it's a competitive edge. To adopt crypto in every facet of your life, it's a competitive edge on every perspective. So it's a get with it or get left behind. I've been saying this since the beginning of my YouTube channel. You either get with it or you get left behind. Like, because everybody's going to do this eventually. You're just getting it very early on this YouTube channel. Everybody's going to eventually do this. And so that means that whatever you're doing is going to be substantially less profitable than what everybody else is doing. And all of them are going to increase in wealth while you stay where you're at. So this is where the wealth inequality gap increases, where people become poorer and other people become richer, is because they're able to comprehend, sit here, really get this, and then take the risk and start applying it to their life. People that lollygag and do nothing, you're going to stay where you are. Like, there's no excuses. Like, we break it all down for you. Baby style, we break it. I give you the report for free. What else do you want? Right? What else do you want? I've given you guys so much of what I do, what has gotten me rich, and I'm just giving it to you, right? So sit here, figure it out. I don't care how much you don't understand it. Try to understand it, bro. I'm gonna blow your mind. Take the PDF, put it into ChatGPT, the free version. Don't pay for ChatGPT. Download the app, put the PDF in ChatGPT, and sit there and ask it questions until you fully comprehend the math and you really, really get it. Those are the people that are going to build the future, and the people that just sit around and do nothing, you're going to forever do nothing. You're going to do nothing because I don't know how much more plain I could break it down for you. I don't know how much more plain. This is plain English. I'm breaking it down for you. This is real. And so this is where the next level is achieved right here. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. The next level is achieved when this next one, this strategy here is a hybrid strategy that we have never had the opportunity in human history to be able to pull off. Let's say hypothetically, you buy the Bitcoin, get the super good returns, which is $2.2 million, but at the same time, you use that Bitcoin to get a loan. This is where it gets insane. So let's go through a hybrid strategy of buying Bitcoin, a whole bunch, accumulating it, and then using it to apply for a home loan. Okay, so you get kind of like the best of both worlds. This hybrid strategy is very lucrative in comparison to the two other options, right? So right here, look. So when you apply for a mortgage, lenders don't just check your income and down payment. They also want to see if you have reserves. So reserves equals extra money left over for closing. So usually what they're looking for is enough to cover 2 to 6 months of housing payments. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. So they want to make sure that you can make the payments on the mortgage, right? So in this case, with the new FHFA directive, you don't have to sell your Bitcoin. You can actually take a loan against your Bitcoin. People don't know this, but you could actually go to Coinbase, or you can even use a decentralized exchange. You could put like 100 grand in Bitcoin and take a loan against it, take 50 grand cash, and then go put your down payment or do whatever you want. So you could actually buy the Bitcoin, and then Freddie Mae and Freddie Mac can use that Bitcoin as collateral for your payments in the future. And when you take a loan against your own Bitcoin, you can use that cash. It gets really crazy, but really comprehend what I'm saying. So let's say hypothetically you're buying a 500K home at 7% interest rate, 10% down. The lender wants 2 months of reserves, right? You need to show that you have at least $6,000 in liquid assets, and 6 months of reserves need to show that you have 17,964. And now you can use Bitcoin to prove that, right? So it's like a savings now, right? So these are kind of the reserve requirement breakdown for 2 months to 6 months. You need this much money. So your down payment is still required in fiat, but you can use Bitcoin to show that you have money to make your payments. Why? I want to explain it very simply. So this is what I did to buy my Tesla. So I bought a Tesla cash, $70,000, but instead of just forking over $70,000, I actually took Ethereum, right? I took Ethereum, I put it in a contract. It was like 250 grand or something like that. Then I took 70 grand as a loan from my Ethereum, used the 70 grand to buy the Tesla. The value of Ethereum doubled and it automatically paid off the loan. You could do that now. And at the same time, this wasn't before, at the same time, they'll even look at how much Bitcoin you have and be like, okay, not only you're using the cash from that Bitcoin, but also this Bitcoin can be used for you to get a higher loan, right? This is where it gets really crazy. So let's get into like the hybrid strategy. I'm going to go over a couple of hypothetical scenarios. So if you want to buy a $500,000 home, right? We know that it's a $50,000 down payment or whatever the case is. So we can do option one, which is we could just only use the Bitcoin for the reserve requirement so that they know that we could pay the mortgage. And we don't need that much Bitcoin. We just have it and that's the boring way. Or you could stack Bitcoin. And this is where it gets really interesting. You could just stack Bitcoin, forget about the house for now, stack Bitcoin, you keep putting your paychecks in Bitcoin, put your paychecks in Bitcoin, keep stacking, right? And let's say hypothetically you stack it to $100,000 in Bitcoin. You could take 50% on a loan, meaning you still own the 100 grand. You take 50% on a loan. It gives you $50,000 cash. So now you have a total of $150,000. But if Bitcoin drops in value, then it automatically takes the difference. If Bitcoin drops to 50 grand, then it will actually take your money and you'll get liquidated. So it's not really $150,000. It's really, you're just taking a loan against your Bitcoin, right? But let's say you do that. Now you have $50,000 cash. You can use that $50,000 as a down payment, because remember, we need 50 grand for the 10% down payment, still hold the BTC. As BTC rises, that 50 grand that you took out, right, or whatever the case is, that pays itself off. It literally pays itself off, right? And then that 100 grand that you have in the contract, that's used to even get the $500,000 loan in the first place, right? So you can keep your BTC, you could show it as reserves, you could borrow against it, and now you can qualify for traditional financing while holding crypto at the same time. So this is the exact step-by-step breakdown for you to pull this off. Step one, accumulate like 100 grand of BTC. Now, obviously this number drops depending on how much your house is worth. So for example, if you want a $300,000 house, this is easier. Not only that, if you can, apply for a loan with zero down payment, this is easier. If you have zero down payment, you could do this and you don't even need to take a loan against your Bitcoin, right? So you keep accumulating Bitcoin, right? Borrow against it, or you might not have to, depending on if you have a down payment or not. Use the 50K for a 10% down payment and use the remaining BTC as a reserve requirement. Secure a conventional mortgage and own both the house and the Bitcoin at the exact same time. So now here's kind of like the final three hypotheticals, right? Listen to what I'm saying. Right here, I just want to break it down. Initial cash needed, doesn't matter. We don't like either way. You could do $0 or 50K. It just depends on what loan you get. But like really just do the numbers. I want to just go here. Total wealth after 10 years. Let's go there. You guys can look at the specifics yourself when you download the report. Total wealth in the case of the hybrid strategy is almost $4 million in comparison to $400,000 by only buying a house. So if you only buy a house, you're making about $426,000. If you buy Bitcoin, you're doing like 2.5 million, profit 2.2, like we talked about before. If you do the hybrid strategy, you're making $4 million. So the upside potential is very high. You have you even have better liquidity in the hybrid strategy, right? And you avoided taxes because the Bitcoin wasn't sold. It's like, bro, I don't think anybody in the world, there's not too many people that understand this. And you could take advantage of this. So I just want to be clear with you guys. When I said in the beginning of the video that $28 billion could fly into Bitcoin, it's because of what I just explained to you. It is not fair anymore. It's getting ridiculous. We can now do everything because everybody's central focus point is like they want to get a house. And I get it. I understand why you want to get a house. The reason why you want to get a house is because you want stability, right? You want to be able to, knock a hole out of your wall. Like I want to customize my house too. I've been renting for a while. I also don't want to get kicked out of my lease, right? I don't want to get kicked out of my lease. If I want to stick somewhere, I want to stay there. It's mine, right? You want ownership, right? And that's why everybody focuses on the house. But the problem with a house is that it's a very bad investment. It's extremely bad. So now this allows you to make a good investment, right? And still get that ownership that you're looking for, that everyone's looking for. So this is where it gets really insane. Once people really start figuring this out, it's the power of Bitcoin plus real estate. It's undeniable. This strategy is going to trickle down. There's going to be a lot of money. I broke down the math behind the Bitcoin spot ETF. Now we're getting real estate assets involved. This is where it becomes unstoppable. And again, before I finish the video, guys, if you want to get access to all the reports and all of the data, head on over to coinpixedu.com. And if you want the reports specifically, /reports. Thank you so much for being a part of my community. I really appreciate you guys. Catch you guys in the next video. And I have to say it, this video deserves it. If you don't get with it, you will get left behind. Because again, there's going to be people that do this and there's going to be people that don't. The people that don't, they will officially lose a lot of money to people that do. That's the way finance works. So do it. Understand it. Don't do it today. Don't gamble, but really try to understand this stuff and start taking your education serious in crypto. Thank you guys for watching. Catch you in the next video.